you became an overcomer. How can I, who little man that I am, speak to the prophetess and say to the prophetess, you became an overcomer by that. And you set a standard to the British audience that they'll be hearing this, that we need to turn around the way that, not the Christians, the way that the non-Christians, who need the gospel more than anyone, need, when they look at Christian television, all they see is give me money. When they hear tonight that you came and you said, no, I don't want to accept that offering, that's to stay with the church. That speaks volumes. But they also see the glory of God and that God's in it because you were given the money that could have been, and probably even more than the offering. Which is God's way of honoring you.
God's way of honoring me. And he does that for me all the time. I just stand back and I have a new manager, and she's been following me now for about a year, and she said, you amaze me, because I see you tell us that we're getting ready to do something and these are great ventures, and I'm looking at
where's
where
the
we
money
are
coming from?
And where is the money coming from. And she said, and out of the clear blue it really shows up for you. And I said, but it is because I've learned something, that without God, I am nothing. Without him, I can do nothing. And so why get in the middle of the road and change your level of dependency now? I depend on him just as hard, Howard, when there are finances, as much as I do when there are not finances, because I need the same God to show up in the realm of the spirit to still disperse. I need his spirit of disbursement regardless to whether or not it's financial or spiritual. So you just don't get in the middle of the road and change your dependency. I don't.
Yeah, fantastic. This is so refreshing. I love live TV as well because I've got no notes. Well, actually, those notes are, I recycle. That's Reuters News, just so you know. Those are the scripts for Reuters News. But I'm writing bits and pieces down as I go. But I got no notes. You didn't give me something to say. Would you say this, Howard? Eh? No. We don't do ministry like that. We speak from the heart. And this is what our viewers discern as well, because this is live TV. You can't get away with anything now. All right? It's too late. It's over. Sorry, you're with us. All right? So, and I hope you're calling somebody at home right now. We've got Juanita Bynum in the studio. Okay? Go live. Go on the phone. Get on the email. Get on the internet. I'm humbled because, I mean, this is like, 2-bit studio compared to what you should be in.
No, I'm humbled, Howard, because you may see it as that. But I was telling my manager out in the hallway, I said, this is the most humble man you will ever meet in Christian television. But what you have accomplished in the spirit realm and the integrity that people believe God on your life is greater than anything else that you could ever possess. And trust me, I know. I've traveled around the world. I've been on other major networks, and I see how people play games behind the studio. I see how they're not really serious. It's almost like, cameras, lights, actions, let's perform. But the integrity and the richness of your spirit, it comes across on that camera, and people have learned to trust the God in you and don't ever think that to be something small. This little space may be something small, but the God on you is not.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I've got to be careful when I accept that, because the thing is, what I'm reminded of is how vulnerable I am and just how human I am.
Yes.
Just like us all.
Yes,
and I've got to say that in the last 5 years, I was just saying this to one of my trusted trustees' wives this evening. Not that he has more than one wife, the wife of a trustee. And saying it, in the last 5 years since running Revelation TV, I think I've been tempted just about in every possible way that the enemy has seen that, I suppose, as a target. Whereas in the past, leading up maybe for 20, 30 years, nobody's come near me. I've been a bit of a recluse, I'll be honest. It's amazing that God should pick somebody like this out of it, because I'm happy to stay out of everything because I see too many dangers. In my Christian walk, I want to stay faithful to God, but I'm human. And things happen. And things happen outside of your own sort of conjuring up.
Control.
Control.
I know that? Yeah. I know that. In the last 10 months, I know that. Yes.
I mean, maybe it's a good time, if you want to share anything there, because people relate. One of the lovely things about these channels, Genesis as well, since we last saw us come into being in Revelation, is that our viewers, they feel they could never get a relationship with God because there's things in their lives that they've fallen short of. And when we share from our hearts
Right.
where we've come from, what we struggle with,
Right.
it's allowed them to think, hey, hang on a sec, there's hope for me. If you can go through that and come out the other side, and even in the midst of it, when you're struggling.
Absolutely.
You know, it says that share with one another, encourage one another.
Right.
And, you know, you've been through something in the last year.
Oh my God.
What happened?
It was such a difficult experience, especially when you know that you have encountered heartbreak. Matter of fact, I got married never to be divorced, ever, ever, ever. I mean, I had a $1.2 million wedding because I never planned to ever walk away from my husband. And that night in the parking lot, you know, when he brutally attacked me, never touched him, never jumped at him, any of that. And I found myself, you know, being choked and thrown down and stomped and kicked, and one of the bellmen saved my life and literally tore my husband off of me. And I was in shock, Howard, but it was this kind of shock. And I pray that somebody is watching today, because I really have been waiting for an opportunity to really express it from a spiritual understanding. You know, I kind of stayed away from the press a lot in the States. And I did that deliberately because the Lord had given me scripture about slander. And so once I had, you know, really conveyed what the truth of the matter was, I just stayed away from all the rest because, you know, all of the in-between wasn't necessary. And the reason why I hope somebody is watching to really hear this is because the shock on that ground was, this can't be happening to me.
Right.
You know, I'm the person that preach, pray, prophesy, lay hands on the sick, you know, cast out devils. I'm the individual that, you know, God uses around the world. I spend quality time in 5 a.m. prayer. The Lord has used me to raise up a prayer ministry, you know, the threshing floor ministry, by which we're bringing that to Europe. How can this be happening to me when I am the righteous? My endeavor every day is to live for God and to serve the Lord. And so while I was laying down there, Howard, I was like, this has got to be a mistake, because most people say, you know, and the Lord will protect you, and he'll give his angels charge over you, and he'll comfort you, and he will let no evil come up on you. And it was at that moment that I began to turn my focus and my attention toward understanding the will of God, because the scripture still is true. Give thanks in everything, for this is the will of God concerning you. So I began to pursue at that time, trying to find out, how is all of this the will of God for my life? And that's when the Lord began to bring the scriptures to me. One of them,
right there when everything was going on.
It was like a couple of days after that. You know, after I had gone to the doctor, and and all of that was out. The first scripture he brought to me was in Isaiah 48:10, and it says, "Behold, I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tried and chosen you in the furnace of affliction." And it was at that point that I began to say, now, how is it that God makes a decision to choose us in the furnace of affliction? And then he took my mind to